Welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that explores the many ways to navigate the successes and failures that aspiring and struggling writers face to make your journey that much easier. Hey, everybody, it is Alex Simmons here. I'm here alone. Well, I'm not alone. Chris is not with me this time because this is a make-up episode. No, I'm not going to be putting powder on my face. I recorded a wonderful episode with a lovely person who you see sitting there right in front of you, Ms. Angela Hsieh. Angela, say hello to the folks.
Hey.
Oh, thank you. That worked out very nicely. Right. Angela and I met at a book fair, a writer's book fair, back in June, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think latter part of June.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, and the bookstore that was sponsoring it was called OTTO. I believe it's the oldest bookstore in the United States.
I've heard that claim multiple times, but that's also a claim that Auto Bookstore makes.
Yes, okay. So folks, you can do your own homework on that one. But anyway, it was a great one-day event, and Angela and I met, and I did an interview with Angela there on the spot in the bookstore. I was being clever. I thought if I am doing a Zoom interview with her, right, and she's on Zoom and I'm on Zoom, we're both on our cell phones in the same space, then that would be cool because we'd have a two-camera effect kind of thing. You'd always be see her face, you'd be able to see my face, and this would be great. Didn't factor in the potential of echo, reverb. So the soundtrack was shot. So here we are doing it again. I'm sure that Angela will be as wonderful, warm, bubbly, effervescent, and forthcoming as she was before. But I wish we had the backdrop that we had then. But here we are.
I'll
Angela,
do my best.
yes, how are you today?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, she's doing okay. There are reasons for that, which we may step into a little bit just for context. But for now, Angela, where are you?
I am in Washington, D.C. This is where I'm usually based.
Well, and I'm usually based here in New York, so this is where I am. So we're not that far apart. Angela is, I'm going to say it the way I blew it the last time, just so she can have the fun of watching me make an idiot of myself again. I saw this, and I'm going to hold it up now, right, in this awkward sort of position because I'm using the green screen effect, and if I do this, it disappears. So there you go. This is Angela's graphic. No, oh, that's wonderful. Angela's graphic. See, Angela has a copy too of her
I
graphic
have
novel.
50 copies.
Yeah, we'll be right over. And I saw this book at the event, and Angela is, her name, she's the artist. This is great. And we talked about her as the artist, and I started the interview thinking of her as the artist, only to find out that she's also the writer. You forgave me for that, didn't you, Angela?
Eventually.
Yeah, okay. Well, I had to say a number of pins and stuff like that. But Angela, tell us what is the name, because I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. What's the name of your book?
It is called Lou and Ren's Guide to Geozoology.
Geozoology, a phrase that I'm sure runs trippingly off everybody's tongue. Angela, how did you come up with that title?
So geozoology itself is a mashup of the words geology and zoology. And so basically giant animal landscapes. I wanted to set it in a world that would be fun to draw. And
Uh-huh.
so geozoology came about. And it was just such a fun word to say once you learn how to say it that it got put in the title.
Okay, we're going to come back to how all this came together. But Angela, I like to start out with the fact that a lot of our listeners, our followers, our fans are aspiring or emerging or struggling writers and artists. And it's always good to give them some sense of, yes, you can, starting with how you can and when you realize you were going to try. So, where did the artist, formerly known, I know, where did Angela, at what point in your life did you realize, yeah, I'm going to start drawing or I'm going to start writing, I'm going to start creating? I love to do that. At what point in your life did that happen for you?
Well, it all started one day when I was born.
Oh,
And
geez, that early, pen in hand, right?
we have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Uh, but let's fast forward from that. So I did always like to draw as a kid. I didn't think I would be an artist as a career after a certain point. I really got into the sciences. So throughout most of my uh, education. I was aiming to be either a doctor or a veterinarian.
Oh,
And yeah, so you can see where the animal stuff comes in pretty
well,
early. I
yeah, yeah. My
loved
daughter
animals.
was thinking about that, going along that track too at one point.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of reasons I ended up not going that way. And so at some point decided that I didn't want to do that. There was multiple reasons. Some of it was about the difficulties of the profession, and some of it was about, oh, I really want to draw. Uh,
Mm.
that both of those things combined meant that I eventually went to art school. And when I the funny thing is, so all this is happening. I'm not really thinking about making a graphic novel at this point. So when I decided to go to art school, I decided to explore my options, and I thought I would become an editorial illustrator because I went to RISD, where they really have a focus on that sort of thing in the illustration department.
Good
So I
old
thought
Rhode
I'd be,
Island.
yeah, yeah, Rhode Island School of Design.
Yep.
Sorry for the acronym.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, right. I just
More homework for
throw
the
those things
audience.
around.
RISD?
Um,
Okay.
yes. And so when I got out of RISD, the first internship I got was with NPR for editorial illustration, which
Oh,
is
National Public Radio.
yeah, yes. Again, I'm doing the acronym thing.
It's okay. That's my job here. I'll just fill in stuff.
And that's how I ended up in DC, the District of Columbia. And did that for a while, finished my contract, did freelance editorial. While I was at NPR, one of my fellow interns, if you're in the graphic novel space, you may know Deb Lee. They have done some beautiful, beautiful graphic novels, and they had a agent who they introduced to me because they're like, "Hey, artist," and so that's how I got my first agent. And of course, when I was introduced to said agent, I was asked, "What stories do you have in mind?" And I went, "So." I had to come up with something real fast. And at that time, around that time, I'd made a birthday illustration for a friend who really loves guinea pigs. And I drew a giant guinea pig. My thought for her was, hey, what if guinea pigs but bigger? Because she likes guinea pigs. So I drew a mountain-sized guinea pig with a
Oh,
little figure um walking up its back, and that little figure ended up being the main character of Lou and Ren's Guide to Geozoology. So Lou right there.
ah.
And yeah, that's sort of where it started. I was like, someone asked me if I had a story attached to that. I'm like, yeah, of course I do.
Well, I loved it. You did a bullet train right through, and it's great. You got us to the heavy meaty part of this conversation, but I'd like to just roll back just a tad, because again, there's what I want to be, what I want to do, what I want to have, what I want to get, and then there are all of the steps to possibly getting there. So I don't want to necessarily go through all the steps, but I do remember from our previous interview that some of your time in the editorial realm also helped shape your thoughts about your art and storytelling. And I'm just wondering, how did that, what was it like working editorial art for just to start with that? You came out of college, you switched majors from animal husbandry to artistry, right? And then you come out of college at, RISD, Rhode Island School of Design, and you step into NPR, National Public Radio, and you're going to be an editorial illustrator. What did that feel like? What was the experience like a bit for you? And then where did the mindset change come?
So for editorial illustration, the oh, let me back up a bit. Editorial illustration is the illustrations you see accompany newspapers and magazines, different articles, often to do with news, and putting a visual to something a little abstract. It's fast turnarounds. It's abstract concepts turned concrete in some manner, and it's the most relevant thing that's happening right now. So a lot of it is very fast paced in a lot of ways. And when I was at NPR, I was just kind of doing that day in and day out. I had other projects as well, but that was the bulk of what I was doing.
Hmm.
And the thing about editorial is that for me, it ended up feeling really repetitive. So I was drawn to it at first because of the fast turnarounds. I was thinking that perhaps I was more suited for that because I sort of have a short attention span. And the thought of making a book was really intimidating because you're on the same project for years at a time. In the case of geozoology, this took 3, 4 years to finish. And before I did it, I was like, I can't do that. I just don't have the persistence to work on a single thing for that long. And so
Hmm.
editorial, and it worked well for a while, especially when I was at NPR as their staff illustrator, but it ended up being the same thing every day in a lot of ways. So when with news, there's new things that happen, but on a grander scale, they're sort of the same. Like, when you take a article and you try to turn it into something abstract, you have to step back a bit. You can't be too specific. Like, you can't say, I'm drawing this guy named Sam who is experiencing this problem. You go broader. You're like, oh, I'll just pick a random topic, like rising rent, for example, which is something we all think about. There are many articles about that, and they come by every so often. And every time it comes by, you're like, oh, now I have to think of a new way to do that. And so it could get a little repetitive. I sort of ran out of juice for a
Ah,
lot of the
okay.
topics that showed up very frequently, like international trade or something. I'm like, oh, I only have so many ways to draw that. So, and there becomes a sort of rhythm where every week or two you're doing an illustration, you're doing the sketches, you're getting feedback, you're doing the final. Okay, next one. Article, sketches, final, next one.
Right.
Yeah, so I wanted something more. I wanted something that could say I wanted to be able to say more with my work. And because at the same time I had been introduced to my friend's agent, I ended up going the direction of graphic novels. It was also, this was in, when I signed the contract, it was 2021. And at that moment, the middle grade graphic novel was really, really hot. It still is, but they were
Hmm.
really acquiring at that point. Yeah, this piece sort of
2021.
felt,
So we're talking COVID period too.
yeah.
Yes,
So,
the disease that should not be mentioned.
yeah.
Yeah. So you were you sequestered at that point in space and
Uh,
time?
okay, so let me just go over the timeline again.
Sure.
I was working at NPR from 2018 to 2019. My contract ended in 2019, and then of course 2020 happened. And when 2020 happened, like many other people, I was like, I guess I'll work on my projects. I did have the seed of geozoology, like it was the concept and quite a bit of the pitch was there, but I really got it together then.
You said the pitch. So were you thinking about, oh, I have this wonderful story in my head that would be fun to draw and I've got the time now? Or when you said pitch, had you mentioned it to someone and gotten feedback and decided, oh, maybe I could sell this? What were you thinking at that point?
I'll go over really quickly what a pitch for a graphic novel is like because it is different from a manuscript of a novel.
Okay.
So, what I needed to have, and I had done my research and figured this out because there are some people have, wonderful people have put resources online of what a graphic novel pitch is. So, it requires you to have a detailed synopsis and 10 to 15 completed sample pages, and then sort of the other stuff like the cover letter, the about the author and stuff. But those two, the pitch and the synopsis are not the pitch, the sample pages and the synopsis are
Right.
the meat of what your graphic novel pitch will be. And you can include a script, but you don't have to. If you feel
Mm.
very confident about it, you should, but if you don't, then maybe you shouldn't. So I don't think I had the sample pages done at that point. I had the synopsis, which is very different from what you ended up seeing in the finished book, but that comes later.
Okay.
And I spent some of that time cleaning it up and submitting it. And also at the same time, this gets just a slight bit more convoluted, which is that I switched agents. And it wasn't anything,
Okay.
it wasn't anything dramatic or big or anything. I just realized that this person wasn't the right person for me. I needed someone who pushed harder in
Ah,
terms of there are agents that sort of just let you do your thing. Like you're the artist, go. And that works for a lot of people. It does not work for me. I need someone breathing down my neck at least once in a while.
Oh, I hear you, and we'll talk about that. But
Yeah.
okay. So wait a minute. So you, once again, I'm just clocking in here. 2018 to 2019 editorial, 2019 to 2020 you
Editorial, freelance.
freelancer. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And somewhere within that time period, you came up with a synopsis for your story for geozoology. Oh, I
Yeah.
said it. Well, okay.
Yes.
I didn't think about it. It came right out. Okay.
Yes, that's the
All
truth.
right. So you had the synopsis for this concept. Now, you had earlier said that it actually, the seed of this idea was the card that you did for your friend. What year was that?
That was in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
So seed in 2017, 2019, you begin developing a synopsis based on that inspiration, right? And then you also meet an agent in 2019?
I met, let's see, I met my first agent in 2018.
2018. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that agent for a period of time, you're working on the concept. You didn't have 10 pages of art at that time, but you did have the synopsis. And then somewhere between 2018 and 2020, you developed the 10 pages.
Yeah.
Okay. And you also changed agents.
Yes.
Okay. And again, no harm, no fouls to the first one,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the second one you felt was more in line with where you wanted to go or what you were thinking of in terms of your potential career.
Yes. So the when I met my first agent in 2018, it was also at a period of my life where a lot of it was really rough. And when someone expressed interest in my life, in my work, I was like, yes.
They
Yes.
like me. They like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I as a general piece of advice, when an agent expresses interest in you, look at other agents because they just might not be the best fit for you. But I wasn't in a place where I even thought of that at all, to be honest. I
Mm.
said yes to the first opportunity that came along. And like I said, it was fine. It just, I should have done my research and chosen someone who's more suited to my personality.
Well, again, I will, and again, I don't want to sort of step on your time here, but I would say that yes, and maybe that agent's interest in you was the impetus you needed to step out into the
Yeah, yeah,
world. You
definitely.
know? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like your first date doesn't necessarily mean the person you're going to eventually wind up with the rest of your life.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's definitely true. Like I said, if I was having a really tough time in my life and someone saying that they were interested in what I make is was very, very big for me. Yeah.
Good. So that got you out the gate, and then we're with the second agent. And how is the story developing now? Because you said, and that's where we're coming back to now, you needed to be pushed harder. So the second agent knew how to push or urge or encourage.
Yes, so my current agent, who was my second agent, she has a much more editorial style, and she's very involved in the pitch and the development of the story. And so I was passing my materials to her, and she was making suggestions, and in general, she's not afraid to be like, I think you should change this.
Ah,
But she
okay.
says it in a much nicer way. Very lovely. I'm represented by Jennifer Azantian, and she's yeah, she's really, really involved with all of her
Roll up the sleeves. Let's build a barn, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I did really, really like that. And also I got my second agent by cold querying. So I broke it off with my first agent, wait a couple months, that's generally considered polite, wait 3 months at least, and then look for your next one.
I'm sorry, I
And
have to ask why? Why do you have to wait? Why is it better, nicer, cordial, polite to wait?
honestly, that is just what I heard. But
Oh,
it
okay.
also made an intuitive sort of sense to me, where it's just like you break something off, and then if you immediately go searching for the next one, it's like it seems a
We
little
can do the
insulting,
dating
doesn't it?
metaphor again. Yes. Rebound.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's the yeah.
yeah.
So that's so I waited the 3 months and then I queried. And when I queried, I was much more intentional about it.
Mm,
So I knew that with this particular story, and I figured honestly with a lot of the other stories I'm going to be writing in the future, it was very specific to the second generation immigrant experience.
mm.
And because it has a lot to do with language barriers and not being able to communicate fully with the people that you love. And so when I was querying, I was looking for someone who could relate to that experience. And
Ah,
so I was looking at agents who they sometimes list out in their manuscript wish list and their websites about what specifically they're looking for. So sometimes people are looking for that type of thing exactly, but otherwise you can get a sense by looking at their client list about what sorts of stories they represent. So with my search, I was querying only the agents who said they wanted that sort of thing or who had a record of representing that sort of thing.
wow. I'm sorry, you've got me all jazzed up here now because you touched on a very what I consider to be an important part of the creative process, and that is you. What of you goes into your work? And in this case, you mentioned that the theme of your book, which is adorable to look at initially, right? But now you're saying that it has something to do with life, and in this case, the immigrant experience. So, can we explore that a little bit? I mean, were you thinking that when you first came up with the concept, or did it evolve as you were working on it?
It definitely evolved. So that first image I talked about, the giant guinea pig mountain, that's what it was. It was a giant guinea pig mountain. And it had a little I had also written a little like little factoids about it, about
Little
if these
character
things
bio, huh?
so it was like if these things existed in real life, people would study them and people would, if it was in a national park, they would write a little fact about it, right? Like Old Faithful,
Yes.
does this every I don't know, 15 minutes. I can't remember how often Old Faithful
Who does?
yeah, yeah, frequently. But that's the sort of thing where it's like, oh, this is a place, it's special, let me tell you about it in a paragraph. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was that. As far as the immigrant experience stuff, that sort of came later. Gosh, my timeline is a little messed up,
It's
but
okay.
there was not too long before I had done that illustration, my maternal grandfather, he had passed away.
Mm.
And you think about that every once in a while. It comes back and it just hits you and you're like, "Oh, I do wish I could talk to him about some things that I'm wondering about, but I couldn't anymore." And even when he was alive, it was really hard because of language barriers. I and plus there's a sort of, a pattern you fall into with the people in your family where you talk about specific things like what you ate today and how was school, and you
Right.
really go beyond that. The one thing that really hit me was that my grandfather had left journals, but he wrote them all in Chinese, and I can't read that. I
Ah,
I read at about a first grader level.
better
That's
than
very
me.
generous, by the way. I probably read at a less than first grader level.
Still better than me.
I'll keep that in mind.
If it helps make you feel better, yeah. Alex, yeah.
So I could get the Spark Notes version basically from my relatives about what he was writing, but that's really not the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's There's a part of him that I don't think, unless I get really good at Chinese in in my lifetime, there's a part of him that I don't think I'll really connect with. Or there's always going to be this distance, this barrier. And, that was just sort of mulling that over in my head several years after he had passed away. And these things, who knows how this happened? They just sort of like melded together, like they were marinating in my brain and they just went into a soup. And
Of it.
yeah, that's why I started writing geozoology. I was like, hey, what if we put these two things together?
I don't want you to give away the story because I think people should buy the book. Okay. But I do this marinating. giant guinea pigs and communication, or the difficulties of communication and language and immigrants' experience blending into this marvelous simmering brew. How long did that take, and what was that like for you?
I can't even really pinpoint when exactly I had the aha moment because it's sort of like shower thoughts. I think is that like a subreddit or something? Yeah, it's
Should
probably a
be.
subreddit, but it's kind of made its way into the common lingo where it just happens. You just, there's the very intentional structured work that we do as artists, right? You sit down and you do the thing. And then there's the you're walking around buying groceries and you're like, I have an
Yep.
idea.
Chris often talks about carrying 5x7 index cards in his pocket. So when he goes someplace with his wife and she's doing this and she's doing, he has ideas. He's jotting them down
Yeah.
on the cards. Yeah.
Yeah, I use the Notes app, but that's also a great idea because I want to get off my phone a little more.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's how it happened and I can't tell you exactly when it happened. And yeah, and then it's just once the idea sort of like melded together, I was like, there's an opportunity here, especially because I love writing fantasy, and as you can tell with the giant animals that don't exist in our world, and I think
That
there's
we
so
know
much
of.
opportunity in fantasy to take these real life concepts and sort of make them bigger and make them reflected in the world. So I say I'm working on a story that's about the distance between generations. So why don't we make that also a real physical distance in this very big and fantastical world? One person is way over there and one person's way over here, and they're trying their best to
Mm,
meet somewhere in between.
I like that. I like that. How does the theme of immigrants fit into the story?
So the main characters, both of them, both Lou and Ren, they are the children of immigrants. So very similar to how I grew up, where their parents came over from a different country and moved to this new land, and they grew up in this place and but still have a connection to their parents' homeland and to their grandparents' homeland. And how that manifests with both Lou and Ren and with me is, like I mentioned, that I can speak Mandarin all right, like well enough. I'm missing a lot of vocabulary, but I can still call my grandma and have long conversations with her even if they're not as deep as I'd like. And but I can't read it.
Got you.
And I set this in a fantasy world, so telephones don't exist, so they don't get to do that. So the next best thing is writing letters. And the thing about writing letters is that if you can't understand the language that someone is writing in, you're going to have difficulty.
That's
So
true.
there is a section near the beginning where they receive one of Lou's grandmother's letters. She calls her grandmother Ama, and it is written in what in this book is called Silian, which is very similar to
Wow.
Chinese, but they're not, these are not real Chinese characters because again, I cannot write them. And
Could have fooled me, but okay.
well, I made them evoke them for sure. I worked very hard to make them close enough that you could be fooled, but if you could actually read it, you'll be like, this is a mess.
Yeah.
So
Bad penmanship here. Right. Okay.
yeah, so but I also didn't want like people who were able to read Chinese to be able to read it because I wanted them to have the same sense of being unable to understand it.
Got you. Yeah.
So
Keep your audience in the same pool. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
So,
so this section where they have a Chinese English dictionary, or in this book it is a Silian Lyristic dictionary, and they're trying to go through every character and figure out what their grandma
wow.
was writing about. And it's very difficult. There's a lot of starts and stops. It's very frustrating, and that reflects a lot of my own experiences.
So many good stuff, things here going on. Let's talk about the process. We're going to come back to the theme and all that, but let's talk about the process of creating the actual book. You had this wonderful, idea. You can draw, which was the first thing I noticed. Okay. Were you a writer already? I mean, you were doing editorial illustrations. You didn't say anything about writing editorial. So, I mean, where did the writing part come in?
I remember talking about this last time. Yeah, so I wrote a lot as a kid, and this is going to be a very specific pull from a very specific era, which is that I was on pro boards role-playing forums as a kid.
Okay.
And the structure of those, for those who don't know, is that someone sets up a forum. There's generally a world outline or a sort of plot outline where it's just, gosh, let's come up with one. I was not involved in these, however, you this is just an easy pull. It's like in a world where vampires and werewolves are fighting, and you're like, oh, I want to create a werewolf.
Got you.
And so what you do is you create a character, and other people create characters, and you role play as your own characters, and they interact, and you're
Right.
coming up with a story as you go. And yeah, so that is mostly where I got my start in writing. And
I love it.
yeah, and I do remember last time we were talking about this, and I was like, oh, I've never been able to recreate that feeling of being on those forums and waiting for a reply and coming up with my reply to this something that someone else had written just for me. And of course, other people could read what was going on in the thread, but it was it felt very special that you were interacting with this a number of other people and building this story together. And while
It's like being part of a literary improvisation group.
yeah, yeah, and
Wow.
the wonderful part is that I don't think very quickly on the fly, so something like a forum gave me a lot of time to think and craft my responses. So it was really perfect for awkward kid that still loved to do stories and maybe was a little too slow in reaction time to be good at pretend.
So you that was sort of like your christening into this realm. So writing was not something that was totally foreign to you.
No.
Okay. So at the point of the synopsis and the stories growing in your head, did you see yourself writing it, or did you think, okay, I have this idea and I've worked it out. I'll get together with a writer and I'll do the illustrations. What were you thinking then?
Oh, I was pretty sure that I would write it. I
Aha.
figured because of the aforementioned short attention span, I figured I needed something that I was really, really attached to in order to draw all of it. So with graphic novels, the majority of time is spent drawing. I've never heard of anyone say otherwise. For me, it took a few months to get the script together, and it took 2 years to draw it. So I needed something that I would be committed to drawing.
Fully invested. Yeah.
Yeah, really invested. And the only way I could envision myself doing that is if it all belonged to me.
Got you.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, of course, your practice transforms. And so after finishing this book, I'm more okay with working with writers as long as I'm really invested in their writing.
Somehow that makes sense to me, but okay. So let me just go back. So you have this theme, you had the synopsis, you developed it, new agent. She rolls up her, or they roll up their sleeves and they get involved. And did you have a sense of the size of this project?
Yes. So the in my contract, it was very specific. It would be 256 pages, and it would be middle grade, and it would be full color. And there was actually no wiggle room. At some point, when I had done the thumbnails for this project, and thumbnails are sketches that are about so this big, 2 inches.
Hmm. For
And
those of you who are listening to this, put your fingers together and create a square.
oh, right, this is also a podcast. I forgot about
Right,
that.
right.
So yeah, they're two
Yeah,
inches high, so that
yeah.
can little rectangles, and that's where you lay out your entire book. So it's stick figures, boxes for the panels and stick figures for the general placement and little circles for the speech bubbles. No details, and you figure out your pacing, you figure out your layouts. That's where you take nothing visually and make it something. And when I first did that, I came up to 320-ish pages, and my editor was like, "No, you can't. You got to cut that down to 256." Yeah, I had to do that. There was really no give or take on that one.
And you knew that your story could fill over 200 pages?
Yes.
Interesting. Again, you had a synopsis. Did you develop an outline first? Because I mean, how did you know, yeah, 250 some odd pages, no problem?
I didn't really know.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
So, this being my first book, I did not have a great sense of how many pages of script equals how many pages of comic pages.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of just wrote and hoped it would work out.
Was your editor able to help with that
Oh, well, the
analysis?
thing is, I don't think she knew for me specifically what that translated to either,
Uh,
because every artist is different. And so we focused on making a good story. I'm sure she had a sense of this is not a 400-page book and this is not
okay,
a
that's
100
good.
page book. I'm sure she had that sense. She didn't tell me though. I think she just helped me make the story as good as it could be.
Good,
But she
good,
did.
good, good.
And then it came to the time to thumbnail, which is when I was like, oh no.
So you wrote the script first, you did thumbnails, you agreed to, under a contract, 256 pages. Your agent was a sense a guide and a support and someone that you felt good working with. Were there days where you sort of banged head against wall and said, "What the hell am I doing?"
Oh yeah. Who doesn't?
She says, "Oh, of course, naturellement."
Naturally.
How did you deal with that?
Poorly?
A lot of alcohol.
Not even.
Yeah.
Just, lay there and like pet my cat and go, why?
Igor.
Yeah. I think trying to think back on that, a lot of it is a blur. Especially there was a certain point where I just had to make. And that point was it was the coloring stage. So let's back up a bit. I already talked about the script. I talked about the thumbnails. After the thumbnails, which then we'd cut down to 256, there's a penciling stage where you make those stick figures look vaguely like people. For me, it looks like blue silly string on a page. But I knew what I was doing. I don't know if other people did. And after the pencils is usually inking, and then it's colors after that. In my particular case, because my book doesn't have line art, as you have perhaps noticed, I
Oh
didn't have
yeah,
an inking stage. So,
beautiful though, by the way.
thank you. One of my favorite spreads. So I went directly to colors. And I also have a very painterly style, so that took the longest. That took, I think I did,
Could you show a couple of other sample pages just while
yes, of
you're talking?
course. I took
Aha.
about 15 months, I think, to do that final stretch. And one of the things that was really difficult was the beginning half because I hadn't quite figured out how to make my process more efficient yet. And so
Oh.
these beginning pages were taking me out. Sometimes it would take me a week each, and that is definitely not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end, I was doing 3 to 4 pages a week, sometimes even five if I really had the wind under my wings, as it were. So those beginning stages was where I was just the holding my cat and going, why?
Well, I mean, we all, again, if we're doing this professionally, but sometimes even if it's just a passionate hobby, you reach those days where you go, I don't know if I can do this, or why did I buy into this, or no one's gonna this, no one wants to see that, it's not gonna this, it's not gonna that. I think it sounds silly. We hear all this nonsense in our head, or we actually hit some sort of an impasse. How we get through that, how we work through it, is always gold for aspiring and emerging writers to hear because A, they need to know you're not alone. But then the other thing is whatever techniques are possible. So other than petting your cat, which I mean, if you're willing to loan him or her out, I guess that could work. But beyond that, was there anything that you thought of, or any physicality that you did, or anything that gave you like, okay, let's get to it?
I I think breaks are really important. I think, and they are. It's not just me thinking it. They absolutely are. I also understand that's really hard to take them when you're on deadline. But they're always worth it.
I
Just
think it's Ray Bradbury. Well, it's Ray Bradbury, Jeremy Britt, who's a British actor, was a British actor, and about two other people I can think of who were very successful in their creative professions, who often said in one way or another, I have to fill myself up with experience or life or stories or things like that in order to then have something to give. And I think what you're saying fits in there very comfortably. Yeah, you do have to sort of breathe and maybe go outside and see the sun or even stand in the rain if it makes you feel good and have some other kind of experience. We ate ice cream in an alley, behind a bookstore
like ice
and
cream.
and talked of things, and your mom was there. And that's a fun experience. It's one that's probably going to make its way into some story of mine at some point. So you're saying that you gave yourself some downtime or some breathing time.
Yeah, I could have been better about it actually. Deadlines breathing down your neck and you're like, "Oh, I can't afford to take this." But you should.
Okay.
Yeah, and especially with writing or drawing where there is a physical component to this. You can't keep going without hurting your wrists, hurting your back. So you should just stand up and stretch.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Take
that's
care of
really
yourself.
important too. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
and there are some points where you simply must power through. Perhaps it won't be your peak work, but if it needs to get done, it sometimes just needs to get done. But
And
try to
and,
keep a
and
balance.
keep balance. Do
Yeah.
you believe one of the things that Chris often says? I mean, we both say it, but he it's a mantra. Let it suck. In other words, get that first thing out, get it onto the desk, the table, the easel, whatever. Just get it out of your head because you can always go back and fix it. You can always go back and do your rewrites or your revisions and make it better. Um, Sometimes people get hung up on, oh, it's got to be perfect when I first put it down. And A, perfect is an illusion. But secondly, yeah, no, you just get it out first and then you can
Yep.
make it better afterwards. I
I will
wanted
say that.
to,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it doesn't even have to be perfect when it's printed. That's what I think also very important. You're making 200 pages, not every single page is gonna be gold medal winning. It's you just need to get it done and it's a book. It's about the totality of it, not about any single page.
I think again another phrase, done is better than perfect, which again I think perfect is that's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
whole nother discussion we can have. But I think yeah, getting it done, getting it out there, getting it to a point where people can enjoy it and experience it and talk about it is definitely the goal. The I think the best goal. I wanted to talk to you. So you because again we could talk for hours, but I wanted to yeah, you created this book and the artwork you were talking about, you did a painting style rather than line work, and you did all of this work and you turned it in, and then what?
I took a break. I took a long break after turning it in. I just went, ugh, and I went and saw friends that I hadn't seen in a while because I was in my little cave gremlin hole trying to finish this thing. And that was
Creator
really nice.
Castle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let down your
But
hair. No, forget that. Okay, never mind.
yeah. And then I did that, and then they were like, "Hey, can you fix this?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm not done yet."
So there was a fixed point. Yeah.
Yeah, someone goes through this at multiple stages. I think once in the pencils and once in the finals, where people went through and they're like, "Hey, this character has two left hands," and you're like, "Oh no!" And so I had to go fix that.
It's not
And
AI, I promise. That's my mistake, right? Okay.
no, that's just human stupidity.
Yeah, that's what happens when you haven't slept for 46 hours. Yes, okay.
Oh, I don't do that. That's another thing. Please sleep, everyone. It really, really destroys you for not if you don't sleep, and it destroys you not for that day, but the rest of the week.
Ah, see,
Yeah.
there you go. Good
Yeah.
piece of advice right there. One of the things I was getting at is you turned it in. Yes, you had to make some fixes, some edits and things like that. And then it goes back. And let's say they accept it now that everybody's happy, there's jubilation. The villagers are dancing in the town square. And it goes to press. And how do you feel and what happens?
Uh, Mostly relief. Like I said,
Right?
it was really a very long and intense process to finish this book. So really, I let myself feel relief for a while. And then I'm trying to figure out which order in which it happened. At some point, I started worrying about marketing.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, which is a whole thing. I'll touch on that later.
Yeah, a different discussion. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But then I started thinking about the next thing. I'm very much someone when I finish something, I'm like, all right, it's out the door. I'm done thinking about it. Maybe I'll come back to it later, but I'm like, I spent so much time on this, I'm putting it away.
Two
And
years, yeah. 2, 3. Well, actually, if you count all the time leading up to it, it's like 4 or 5 years.
it's 4 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I was ready
Yeah.
to put it down.
Yep. Yep. That date's finished. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I love what I made. Moving on.
Are you working on something new now?
Yes, so I signed a two-book deal with Harper.
Get out of
And
here. Yay.
yeah, it doesn't have to be a sequel. I specifically requested that I not be locked into that, which was great because it's not going to be a sequel.
Ah, good. You and
And
Ryan Coogler.
yeah, hey, that's good company to be in.
No, no complaint there, right? Okay.
Yeah. So the constraints for that one are also 256 pages, middle grade, and full color, and graphic novel, of course.
Are you writing either of
Yes.
these? You writing both?
Yes.
Get at it. Look at her.
I actually think I'm contractually obligated to.
Well, again, see, all that time role playing, guys, video gaming can be beneficial. I know this wasn't what you were doing. It can be if you then turn what you experience into something of an output, a creative output. Yeah.
I
I
mean, I
love.
guess the speaking of role playing, the f logical follow-up to all of that is I play a lot of D&D now.
Ah, okay. Dungeons and Dragons, another acronym.
Oh, oh no, I keep
Right,
doing
right.
this.
Yeah, right, right. That's okay. I speak. Yeah, no, never mind.
You
So
speak millennial?
yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have three. No, two. I have two millennials. Yeah. One's older than that, yeah. So the thing is now you are immersed in this aspect of your career. This is wonderful. This is
Yeah.
wonderful. This is a journey. I could talk to you and will at some point talk to you forever. But for now, I'm just sort of bringing this to a bit of a close. I would love to know if A, you have anything else you want to share about your experience, and then B, anything you want to share as a guiding light for, again, aspiring people who may want to become writers and graphic artists, graphic novel artists.
These big questions always hang me up.
Yeah, hey, I talk big.
Yeah. I do think that the name of this podcast really gets at the core of how do I write a story, which is just tell the damn story. It,
Thank
like
you.
like
Thank
you
you.
said, done is better than perfect. And just get it down. One of the favorite pieces of advice that I had gotten from was it from a professor? A teacher, someone, for drawing specifically, though I think it will also apply to writing, is that you get a blank piece of paper, a canvas, a shiny new notebook. Mess it up. It's too perfect right now. You need to just crumble a page or scribble on something and be like, oh, the pressure's off. It's already messy.
All right, so scuff your new sneakers, folks.
Yeah, yeah, actually, because then it's less terrifying to look at it and be like, whatever I do is gonna mess this up. But no, it won't. And also, if it's messed up already, then there you
I
go.
hear you.
It's already there. So
Wow,
drawing
wow.
it.
That's actually very liberating.
Yeah.
Don't do that with a new car, though. But yeah,
No.
yeah. No, I think you got to draw
Perhaps
the
not.
line somewhere.
I don't know. Take the Sharpie and go, "Eek," and go, there we go.
Inside the glove compartment, scratch. Okay, there we go.
The Sharpie will come off.
And then, in terms of anything else that you want to share with the world?
I realized that we leapt right into this and we never actually gave a summary of any sort for this book, which maybe we can edit into the beginning. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll edit it wherever it fits, but it could be right here now. I thought we had a good time sort of getting to it, but yes, talk about the book.
Okay, so Lou and Ren's Guide to Geozoology. It is about these two friends, Lou and Ren, and they are going on an adventure across this land that is full of giant animals, and they're searching for Lou's missing grandmother, who has suddenly stopped writing her letters, and Lou's just trying to find her and figure and help her out, because she's clearly in trouble if she stopped writing her
Ah,
letters. Yeah.
bum bum bum, diddle-diddle.
Yeah, I figured some context for the rest of the talk is
Yes,
helpful because we're
that
talking about
that
like distance and the immigrant experience, and I'm like, oh right. So the point is that she is searching for her grandmother, who has gone missing on one of her research trips.
wow. See, you're right. I should have put that in earlier, given you a chance to do that earlier. Well, we just should have done it earlier. So I will switch this, and I will take out this part of us talking about. I will switch this. So again, thank you so much, Angela. Thank you, Abe, for coming back and doing this because I fouled up the soundtrack the first time.
No
And
worries.
as I said, I may try and plug in some images from that just so folks who are experiencing the YouTube version get to see it. So folks who are listening to this, use your imagination. You're working on these other two books. Is there anything you want to say about those before we say arrivederci?
Um,
Or can you even talk about anything at this point?
they're just really at a very early stage right now, and it's like I haven't really put together the elevator pitch for them.
There you go.
I'll do
No
my best.
log lines, huh? For those of us doing screenwriting, no log lines, no two sentence here.
Yeah.
That's
Okay. There's one book that I'm working on. It's just at the pitch stage. It's not contracted yet, but I'm working with a writer, which is really exciting. And it is, it's a romance, and
oh,
it is going to be it is not fantasy either. It's just a little different from what I usually do, but that's why
I'm
there's a
assuming
difference.
it's not for 8 to 12 year olds
It
either.
is not. It is
There you
not. It
go.
is going to
Okay, just
be
wanted to be clear about that.
Oh, yes, yes. I mean, like, look, there are some really cute middle grade
Yeah,
romances as
no,
well.
there are,
Yeah,
but the way you were talking about it, just wanted to be clear. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's a rivals to lovers about two women surfers. And I think that's all I can say at this point because like I said, it's still in the pitch stage and we haven't even started
That's
uh
fine. We'll just keep our ears open. We know where you live. All
yeah.
right. And the first opportunity that you can talk about that or anything else you want to talk about, you're more than welcome to come back. And at that point, you'll also meet Chris, and he'll have a good chance to enjoy, your company as much as I have.
Oh yeah, I would love to meet Chris. I keep hearing about this mysterious Chris.
No, he's not that mysterious. No, it's just he's
Just to
absent at
me.
the moment. It's not definitely not mysterious. But really, again, Angela, thank you so much. Angela Hsieh, folks, everybody, please look for her book, Geozoology. And by the way, who's the publisher?
It is a Cool Tree Books, HarperCollins.
HarperCollins. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can get it in the stores because that's where we met and was in the stores. But I'm sure you can also get it on Amazon or any other source for great graphic novels. 300 and some odd pages. Make a lot of tea, sit down and fully enjoy it. And actually, this is for 8 to 12 year olds.
Yes, yes.
Beverage, fruity drinks, whatever. And again, you got the summer, man. You still got 2, 3 weeks left of summer. What a great read for the summer.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on twice.
Yeah. And you will return.
And I will be back. And there's something about the fact that I'm not soaked in rain like last time that
Oh, yeah.
made this a more comfortable experience.
Yeah, we'll tell you about the deluge that we barely missed the last time too. Here we are swimming in Pennsylvania down the main street. It was just so much fun. Again, Angela, so much. I really enjoyed having you here. Please do come back. And everybody, thank you for the time. Chris, see you again next time. Everybody, thank you. Say bye.
It's good to be on here.